What's up, everybody? It's Casey with Two Worlds Podcast, and with me, as always, it's the blue to my Steve. It's Jake. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Is that a Foster's Home reference?
It's a Blues Clues reference, dude,
Well, why'd you spell blue like that?
because I wanted to.
Oh, but isn't that how blue spells blue in
I think
Foster's Home?
so, but it's Mac and blue,
I
and
didn't
then he
watch the
makes,
show.
and then he accidentally makes. He thought he accidentally made cheese one time. And it was mac and cheese, and then it turns out that cheese was just the neighbor's imaginary friend that went across the street and would get like would just was crazy, and it was really funny.
Ah, I didn't get to watch that show, so
It
I heard
was
it was good.
it is it's it was by like, I guess Powerpuff Girl fans don't like it very much because it's by the dude that made Powerpuff Girls. And like while he was making that, it was like the last season of Powerpuff Girls, and then like someone else kind of took over the last season, and like it went to crap. Like it got really,
Mm.
really stupid. And they're like, McCracken, why didn't you just finish this?
Well, that's understandable. But anyway, yeah, Blue's Clues. How was your week, Casey?
It was eventful. I did two Spartan races. I am feeling it. And like the worst part was Thursday, I went on a run, like my last run before the races. I was like, oh, I'll just kind of, do a nice light run. But I wore like no show socks. And so it rubbed the whole race or my whole run in that morning. So I got two big blisters on the back of my heels, and one of them burst before the race, like that day. So I was in pain there. And then
Yikes.
the first Spartan I did, it was like um, 13 miles. So that other one burst there. It was getting sand and stuff in it. And then like, so I had both of these just like getting like all types of nasty stuff in it. And then so the next race I was going on like two bad heels running. It was luckily only 3 miles for the second race, but still it wasn't great.
Yeah, that sounds awful, man. But hey, I'm proud of you for doing both of the races.
Thanks, man.
You looked very handsome and rugged in your photos.
Well, thank you. You got to plug the Instagram now. Go ahead, because I don't know my handle off the top of my head.
I think it's just at I'm Casey or
Maybe
I'm
I think
Casey
it's got.
Morse.
I think it's that, and then like maybe the number two, because I'm Casey Morse is probably taken.
Ah, okay. Well, anywho, let's hop into some news. I kind of obliterated Casey on news this week, which doesn't happen too often, so I'm gonna revel in it while I can. And I will start off with a couple small ones. So this was like stupid vague, but according to Mark Millar or Miller, however he says it, Marvel Zombies is getting the live action treatment eventually. He didn't really
That's
go into details. He was just like, "Oh, I was talking with some people, and they said it's probably going to happen."
Yeah, I mean, because we talked about this. There's characters from What If that's supposed to be coming over into Doctor Strange, so I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in Doctor Strange. And I mean, hopefully he's getting paid for it. Probably not much because it's Marvel, but
Yeah. I do you know when Doctor Strange comes out?
I think it's sometime next year.
Okay. Because I haven't seen any of What If yet, and I just need to like sit down and binge it in like a day, you know?
Yeah,
Because I really don't want to miss any like even if it's a cameo from like this show or something. I want to be caught up on all things Marvel for when this multiverse stuff hits the fan, you know?
yeah. It's coming out March 25th, 2022.
Okay, well I've got time then.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean I don't want to say we figured live action Marvel Zombies would happen, but like in some capacity, it was probably gonna happen eventually,
Yeah.
right?
I'm gonna say this though, it is pretty awesome that it is happening, because like if you would have said this when it came out, like, oh, we're gonna get a Marvel Zombies related thing in a movie someday, it's like I'm like, no, we're not. You're stupid.
Yeah,
So the fact that it is happening, I mean, it's clearly a sign that they're running out of ideas, but it's still pretty cool.
which is crazy because they have thousands of things they could do, but
Dude, they have a whole house of ideas.
haha, I see what you did there. And then also Matt Wagner, easily in my top 5 comic creators of all time. His comic series Grendel is getting a live action 8-episode Netflix series. I've not read it. Um, that's one of the few series of his. Like whenever I read Mage, I was like, I'm either going to do Grendel or Mage, and I went with Mage. But I hear Grendel's super cool.
Looks super cool.
He does look cool. The only thing I know about him is that he's a fencer, like a swordsman fencer, and I want to say there's some like magic or supernatural stuff with that too. But anyway, uh, of course, I tried to get some trades in, but they are long out of print. Hopefully, Dark Horse, I think, owns the rights. Hopefully, Dark Horse gets some of the trades back in print. But I definitely want to check that out before it drops because I want to support Matt Wagner.
Yeah.
An 8-episode Netflix series. I mean, that sounds about perfect in my opinion. That should cover that entire first series.
Yeah.
Is
Hopefully.
that something you'd check out?
It's something I would for sure check out. Like that's kind of right up there with Invincible, where it's like that's one of the things I've always been interested in seeing or reading, but never have. So seeing it and a Netflix version would be pretty sweet.
Agreed. And at least with Grendel, it's like, oh, 6 issues. I can do that versus Invincible's 175.
Yeah.
And there's been like a handful of Grendel miniseries at this point. So maybe they'll do, if it catches on, they'll do another mini for the second season or whatever. But hopefully it does well for him because the guy's been working in the industry for a long time. And I'm glad that something's finally coming together.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you talk now, man.
All right. So I remember me talking about the book Hotel with the 2 L's?
I sure do.
It's by John Lees and Albert Talashek. Hopefully that's how I say his last name. They're actually getting a second series of it. So we're going to get to continue that series, which is good because I wasn't super hot on the ending personally. So like getting more of that and kind of seeing where it goes should be pretty awesome.
Maybe we'll get to do another advanced review for our good friend John Lees.
That would be pretty sweet, man. I'd be all about it. I'm hoping if we do, it's going to be for the Crimson Ring instead, though.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So, Casey, there is a boatload of new comic info this week. But
I saw that. I was seeing them on Twitter and I was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Or Jake will probably get to it. Then I was like, yep, he did. So I'm not gonna worry about it.
Jake got to all of it. But before we get into that, I'll talk about one more like TV show thing. If we had talked about this before, I totally forgot. But Hit Monkey will premiere November on Hulu. Jason Sudeikis was cast in that along with like Olivia Munn. The teaser dropped today or the day before. Did you check that out at all?
No. Like Hit Monkey is one of those characters I remember when he came out. I was like, boy, this is stupid. And guess what I still think about this character?
Stupid.
Yep.
I remember you hating it when it came out because I was exploring where I wanted to go with my comic fandom at that time. And I remember reading some of it because Danny Way wrote it. And I like him as a writer, so I don't think it was as bad as it could have been. But as to anybody on the outside, if they were like, that's dumb, I don't want to, I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. But I watched the teaser. It was really short. It looks ridiculous, totally bonkers. I may still check it out. It might be the right kind of bonkers.
Yeah. And then, so did you see the director of The Flash, Andy Muschietti? And he posted a Batman insignia with the Flash lightning bolt over it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so yeah, for Batman Day, he posted, it was just one of the Batman insignias. And like the one thing that's kind of interesting, he posted one, I think last Batman Day, where it was very much the Tim Burton Batman. This one's not quite the Tim Burton one. I didn't compare it to the Affleck. Like it's different than the Affleck Batman too. So it's like it's a different insignia. Don't know if it's how they're going to do that, but then it's got the Flash lightning bolt over it. And there's some fans out there that are trying to say like, oh, maybe we're gonna see the I had to write his name down because I didn't read much of this character before, but Red Death from the
For metal.
Batman Metal, yeah, which is for those that don't know, is the dark multiverse Batman that's got super speed, which I hope not, but we very well could.
I
And
was I was kind of just thinking maybe a team up.
yeah, I could very well could, and it could just be. I mean, heck, it could just be Ezra Miller trying to come up with his new costume because they said he's going to get a proper costume in this, so that could be part of it.
That's good because I've hated all of his costumes up to this point. All right. So I'll do a couple of the comic announcements. Oh, first off, so James Tynan is launching Department of Truth Wild Fictions at Substack. It's going to be a Department of Truth spinoff dealing with certain case files from the Department of Truth. I'm not reading that series, so it didn't really grab me. But Casey, I know that you liked that a lot at first. Is that something that could get you over to Substack?
uh, Probably not. I mean, it was interesting, but it was also like, yeah, you're getting a little too out there for me. And that's kind of why I stopped reading it. So it's just like keeping that stuff going might be too much.
Yeah, fair enough. So this one was interesting. We've got a mini series coming out from Mark Russell and Steve Lieber called One Star Squadron, a play on All Star Squadron. Mark Russell is known for doing like some like satire and social commentary stuff, so it could be interesting. But the catchphrase for One Star Squadron was Superman level service at bizarro prices. Um,
I'm really hyped for this. I mean, I love Steve Lieber's art, so
oh, I do too. He did Jimmy Olsen, right?
yep. So
Um,
I'm really really excited.
and the little bit of art that was teased with that looks really good. Um, I've not really read much by Mark Russell, and I know some people like really loved his Snaggletooth mini and like a couple other of the like, oh gosh, Hanna-Barbera stuff that he did, but I didn't
Oh,
really read
okay.
any of it. So I don't know. I'm still willing to check this out though. And you just said that you were too, so that's good. And then Jeff Lemire is writing a Swamp Thing book for Black Label. It's going to be 3 issues, and it's called Swamp Thing Green Hell. What about that one, dude?
I'd probably check it out. I mean, Swamp Thing's one of those characters where it's very dependent on the writer, and which is weird that I say that since like I'm not reading Ram V's run, even though I love Ram V. But I just didn't like how he wrote him in the future state stuff. So, but yeah, it's not someone that I'm ever like, got to give me some Swamp Thing. But I like Jeff Lemire, and he's written him before, and I liked how he wrote him then. So, but
Yeah.
what about you, man?
I'll flip through it. That's going to be a game day decision for me.
Yeah,
I like Swamp Thing well enough, but if I'm honest, I'm getting sick of these oversized Black Label books. I hate it.
yeah, that's
Just
true.
just make them normal sized. Customers don't like it, and let me tell you, the shops don't like it. I can't
Yeah,
put them anywhere, man. It's annoying.
yeah.
Magazine size boxes, it's not convenient for me to just have those sitting around.
Like, and like this one, I'll say this though, like just as a consumer, this one and then like the question, those ones make a little bit more sense being the bigger ones, but then like that Lobo versus Superman book, which is just much more comic booky book, that 100% needs to be in like a regular comic book format, where it's like with
Yeah.
the question one, and I'm assuming how this one's gonna be, where it's gonna be like darker themes and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, you can justify that, but the other one, it's just a fun comic booky thing. It's not, anything too crazy. So
And that can be said for almost all of them.
yeah.
Um, and like even the hardcover collections and trades are that size too. And my customers that trade weight on stuff like this don't like it because they're like, it sits weird on the shelf or like doesn't even fit on the shelf. So
It's a coffee table book. You just set it on your coffee table.
Yeah, that's definitely where I want bat junk, right?
I
Just kidding. That wasn't even that big of a deal. But
heard it was pretty big.
yo, and then I'll do one more and let you do your next thing. Um, Batman Beyond Neo Year, which is going to be done by Kelly and Lanzig, who I think just did the Batman Beyond story in this week's Urban Legends potentially. But
I think
anyway,
so because I saw online where that like leads directly into this.
yeah. And so the gist of this story is that Terry McGinnis avenges the murder of Bruce Wayne. So could be interesting. I think it's going to be a six-parter. Um, but number one is due out in April of next year. So if you're a Batman Beyond fan or that sounds interesting to you, check it out.
I'm gonna give that one a check out if I remember to. What about you?
I'll probably give it a read. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I like Bruce being dead as opposed to just him being there to like support Terry. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. I'm willing to give it a shot.
All right, then my last bit of news solicits came out for Justice League Incarnate, and we are getting a Batwoman who laughs. So Jake, prepare the getting lots of those so you can sell them because people are gonna be going crazy over that.
Here's why I think you're wrong, Casey. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because everyone's prepared for it. Before, we didn't know we were getting Batman Who Laughs in that issue of Teen Titans 12 from Rebirth. So that's why it's very rare and still really expensive because nobody knew it was coming. Now that we know this is coming, shops are going to overorder the crap out of this thing, and people might pick up an extra copy, but overall, I don't think they're going to care that much.
Don't you have at least one customer that's gonna be like, "Hey, could you get me 82 issues and like give them to me?"
I'm sure it'll probably come up at some point. Maybe it'll be like a $10 book and I can make lots of money. Who knows?
Yeah.
Probably not, but a girl can dream.
Like I just want to know who asked for that because it's like as far as
Nobody.
I can, yeah, as far as I can tell, like everyone's tired of the Batman who laughs, and just gender swapping them isn't going to make anyone go like, oh, well, now I like it again.
What I'm hoping is that because Williamson is a good enough writer, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that it's just since he's dealing with all this multiverse stuff, it's just maybe it's a one-off villain for like an
Yeah,
issue or a very short story arc, and it's not going to be like this is who the Justice Incarnate is fighting and there she's even worse than the Batman Who Laughs, because then I'm just going to roll my eyes until they fall out of my skull.
I think if Williamson was brave, he would have made the Joker who scowls instead.
One of my helpers at the shop, Chris, he calls him the Batman who kecks, and it kills me every time he says it. It just makes me giggle. But anyway, that's a thing, huh? Interesting. I'm still gonna check out Incarnate because I think
Oh, me
Williamson's
too.
good enough.
And then I'm going to sell that issue for $2,000, and I'm so excited about it.
That
That's going to be
is
the buy it now price on eBay as soon as it comes out.
good luck, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, so I will now go through the rest of what I got here. Um, So Philip Kennedy Johnson is launching a World of Krypton miniseries with Michael Oeming, and it will be telling tales from before the time that Krypton exploded. So if you just like Krypton and like, I don't know, Krypton stuff, you might dig that. There's been a couple World of Krypton miniseries since the 80s over the years. So, you know, at first I was like, it's dumb because we all know what's going to happen by the end of it. But this is something that's been with DC for a long time. So uh old PKJ is a good enough writer with especially with the Superman stuff, or at least the Action Comic stuff. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a knockout.
I mean, my whole thought though is right now we're getting that crappy Midnighter series as a backup. We could just be getting this and not have to pay $5 for another book because I don't care enough about Krypton to want to pay money to read about it. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be a pass for me. I like Philip Kennedy Johnson a lot, but not enough for that.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm kind of in the same boat there. But what I see happening, and see, this is the thing, I feel like lots of people feel that way. But then Philip is going to throw in like a brand new character that's going to take off later, and then
Yeah,
this series will explode. So who knows?
and you're gonna have that. You're gonna have some sweet, back issue new character money coming your way.
$2,000 buy it now price.
Heck yeah, man.
All right. So next, I thought this was interesting. One of my very favorite writers, J.M. DeMatteis, is going to be writing a Ben Reilly Spider-Man comic, a mini series that actually takes place in the 90s Spidey continuity. Art will be done by David Baldeon, and if you read and enjoyed any of the like original Clone Saga stuff, this will take place during that time. I think that's pretty neat. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, will it matter? No. But if you like that time period and like 90s Spider-Man, like a bunch of people do, and you're not going to like the thrice monthly Amazing Spider-Man stuff going on, maybe this will be a good option for you.
Yeah, it's just my only problem is it makes me think of that. I think it was Web of Spider-Man, the Peter David Spider-Man book, where I was reading it, but I'm just like I kind of got to the point where I'm like, oh, but nothing, none of this continuity really matters. It's all going to get wrapped up with a nice bow at the end. So I just quit reading it, and it's kind of the same thing with this. Though I will say it's going to be nice for the Ben Reilly fans. Is Mike hype about it?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's the one plus side where it's like with the other one, it was just a Peter Parker story. At least this one, we're getting like Ben Reilly out of it, more of him instead.
Mm-hmm. And like the art that was shown with it, like Ben's
Yeah.
costume looks amazing. Like I think it'll be cool. I don't know if I'll read it. I think I'll at least give it a shot. Maybe this can be a Spider-Man book that hooks me because I don't know. Here lately, nothing has, and I like Spider-Man. I want to read Spider-Man. Maybe it's just going to take Ben Reilly.
I mean, I think it's going to take a month, just a regular old monthly book too, though,
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
having it come out 15 times a week.
Yep, I agree, man. And Casey, finally, we've been talking about it for a long time. I've been asking for it for a long time. We are getting a Batgirls title. It's going to be written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad with art by George or Jorge Corona. The art looked awesome for this book. Did you see anything on it?
I saw a few things when it was announced. Yeah. That was another one where I was like, sweet. And then I put my phone down. Then like 5 minutes later, you texted me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm stoked. It's gonna be Stephanie and Cassandra just being Batgirls underneath the watchful eye of Oracle. And it's about darn time. I'm very, very, very excited for it. Are you gonna give it a shot?
Oh, yeah. Like I've heard Becky Cloonan's name. I can't place her though as far as what she's written, but it's usually a name that's well regarded, so that's going to be good. So
I
yeah, I'm
guarantee you've
interested.
read one
I
thing by her.
I bet I have. At the very least, it was one of the things in like one of the 50, like 100 years of this character book because I'm
Right.
sure she's written something in one of those. I just don't, I can't place it.
Yeah. Well, right now she's writing current Wonder Woman, so I've been digging that for the most
Yeah.
part. So that's been cool. But anyway, very, very excited for that. And then the last bit of news that I have, Effective June 1st, 2022, IDW will be going through Penguin Random House and ditching Diamond.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that's another hurt, but I don't think Diamond's hurting too bad because they still got that Funko money.
I know, which still makes me angry. But as a shop owner, I'm very excited because the less money that I need to give them, the better. And, you know, good on them for going through Penguin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's everything for the news this week. So we'll take our ad break and then we'll be back to talk some comics. So we'll be right back. All right. I didn't really have a story, Casey, but if you don't mind, I'd like to do a short plug on a guest appearance I had this week.
Plug away, my friend.
All right. So a couple of my friends, Alex and Preston, who I met through Comic Headquarters and became friends with, invited me on their podcast, which is called The Testing Room. And it is a video game podcast. They're funny guys. They love video games. They're very passionate. They have great conversations about video games. And they had me on to talk about, I mean, just comics and video games in general, but also like comic book adaptations into video games and vice versa. So that was really fun to talk about. So yeah, if you guys want to hear me talk about video games with a couple of friends, then check out the Testing Room podcast. It's the latest episode, which I think is number 11 for them. So I appreciate them having me on. It was a lot of fun. And if they want to have me back, I will definitely be more than happy to do that. So that is all.
Yeah, we'll plug it at the end too when we're doing our plugs.
Both show. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening to the ad. And again, if you're on YouTube, I had a little plug for a guest spot that I did on another podcast that was super fun. So you can check that out on YouTube if you'd like. But Casey, now is time for the Hour Man Power Hour Extravaganza. I think it gets a new name every week.
Yeah.
But what comics did you read this week?
So I read Fantastic Four Life Story number 4, The 90s. Godzilla Rivals versus Mothra. It doesn't have a number. Superman versus the Authority 3 of 4. Primordial number 1. Titans United 1. And the Joker number 7. What about you?
I read Joker number 7, Titans United number 1, Primordial number 1, Superman and the Authority number 3, Justice League The Last Ride number 5, The Mighty Valkyries number 5, Harley Quinn The Eat Bang Kill Tour number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog number 44, Wonder Woman number 779, and Masters of the Universe Revelation number 3.
You got a lot more books than me this time, man.
I did. All right, so I will just hop on in. The timer is started. So Masters of the Universe Revelation actually came out last week, and I just totally missed it. So I'll just do a really brief recap on this. It was awesome. I cannot believe how much I like this 4-issue He-Man miniseries. I wish it were longer. Maybe it'll get a volume 2. But I definitely plan on watching the show after the next and final issue comes out, even though a lot of He-Man fans seem to hate it. But anyway, we get basically the origin story for Lynn, which is Skeletor's sorceress lady, and I loved it. The art is awesome, and then at the end we finally get some He-Man action, and some of the other masters show up. But I want to show you my favorite panel, which is Skeletor in his Horde gear. I think it looks awesome.
That is awesome. Now, can you read what he says in your Skeletor voice, since I have to get you to do an impression of him every time?
I'm taking you away from all this. That's all I got. I
It
am
tickles
not
me.
nice. Yeah, I love it. Oh, I forgot to give the credits. So the script is by Tim Sheridan and the art is by Mindy Lee. And color art by Rico Renzi. I want to shout out the colors because it's awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. I've been loving this book. 10 out of 10.
Nice, man.
There's probably some Masters of the Universe fans who are like, this guy's out of his mind. It's, garbage, but I like it.
I I just love too though how it's like you guys are complaining about a series that's literally made to make toys.
Yeah.
There's no depth there. Like that old series, there was no depth. So it's like they're trying to add stuff, but it's like it's not the same deep stuff that you added when you were a kid playing with the toys, so it's not near as good.
Yeah. I know. Like, I don't want to step on toes because trust me, guys, as a Thundercats fan, I totally get hating some new series, but I don't see it with this one. Like the old show is kind of corny, and that's fine. I like it. But this is great. It's great stuff. Okay. Next, wait, how many do you have that we didn't read together?
I only have two. I think you had
No,
six.
Joker.
I
Oh,
read I had the only two I have were Fantastic Four and Godzilla Rivals.
okay. So you read
And
Last Ride, Superman
I didn't
Authority.
because I forgot Last Ride when I was getting my
Oh,
stuff.
dude, it was so
I
good.
know I'm gonna have to put on my list this week.
Okay, so Superman, Primordial, Titans, and Joker.
Yeah, it would have been nice if you would have listened to me the first time.
Yeah, well, I was too busy getting my massive heap in order. All right, Wonder Woman 779. This is by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, and art is done by Travis Moore. So this is the finale to all of the Janice stuff that was happening. And it was kind of like it was good, but kind of weird because they're transported to this, like, we'll call it limbo. And we think Dead Man dies, and I guess he does die at the end of that last issue. But then Wonder Woman's like new lasso is talking to her, and it's telling her to use it on Dead Man and command him to just come back to life. And he does. It's like, okay, well,
how
that
does
sure is weird.
how does a ghost whose whole thing is he's dead die and then be brought back to life?
A lot of what happens in this issue is chalked up under anything can happen in this limbo pocket universe.
Okay, so it's kind of like in Austin Powers when they start doing time travel, and then they look at the camera and they just say, "Don't think about it too much."
Yeah, basically.
Okay, cool, cool.
And really, if you do that, which is what you should do, it is more enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, uh, Boston takes them there because he said that, like, nobody is powered there. So Janice's, like, scythe that's cutting through realities and creating portals to other times and places just stops working, except for Diana's lasso. So I don't really know how that works, but whatever. They needed to bring Boston back. Um, so yeah, then it turns out that Diana's lasso is actually one of the Norn's threads. The Norns being, Asgardian, and the threads are the, like, fate of the universe. So I guess that's also why it was mega powered up. But anyway, it turns out that the whole time Janice was a bad guy, but not the one pulling all the strings, if you will. It was actually, if you remember me talking about the first issue of this arc, Janice was split from this other god. There were two people and they split, and she left the one there on Olympus. Turns out he was the bad guy all along because he basically set this Janice free to kill everything because he wanted time to stop. I don't really know why. He said that he saw the future and it was terrible and he didn't want to make it that far. So he let Janice loose to, like, destroy everything. But anyway, it didn't work. The day is saved. Diana and Siegfried sew the two Janices back together. And yeah, they kind of just send everyone off on their merry way. The Olympus gods want Diana to come back to Olympus with them, but she says no. Siegfried is like, cool, does that mean you're coming back to Asgard to be with me? She was like, no, even though I'm going to miss you and Ratatosk, who's the little magic squirrel that's been with them the whole time. And so there was a pretty sad goodbye with them, and it did suck because I actually grew to like those two characters quite a bit. Um, but it was one of those, I'll see you again one of these days. And yeah, then Ratatosk, who's kind of wrapping up the story, says that she went back to her Earth, and then it ends and says next time Diana's return. So I assume we will get back to our regularly scheduled Wonder Woman stuff. I don't know if Cloonan and Conrad are continuing or if this was like the end of their run and maybe someone else is taking over. But since they're going to be doing Batgirls, but it was a fine wrap up to the arc. I'd probably give, because the art's like really really good, probably give it a 7 overall, just because I didn't like the whole if you don't think about it too hard thing, because a lot of the stuff just really didn't make sense. They just needed to wrap it up, but still enjoyable. So yeah, 7 out of 10, which is perfectly fine.
And then what would you say the whole arc is? And would you recommend it to your mom since she is a Wonder Woman fan?
Overall, I think it's an 8, and I would recommend it because it's still fun to see her jump around to all the different
Yeah.
realms. And most of the time it worked really well. It's just, I think it got a little too big for its britches, and they just
Mm-hmm.
had to use a pocket dimension to make things wrap up in a
I got you.
semi-sensical way. Um, okay. And then next, I will do Sonic the Hedgehog 44. It's written by Ian Flynn with pencils by Tracy Yardley and colors by Matt Herms. I'll be really brief with this. So Sonic and Tails send the Deadly Six back to, I think their planet's called the Last Hex or like Final Hex or something like that. And the leader's like, uh, if you're being merciful and sending us back there, just know that we're going to come back and try to take you over again. And Sonic was basically just like, that's fine. I'll just take you down as easily as I did this time again. And,
Tails
you
was
know,
like, oh.
yeah, basically, right? Tails is the ultimate hype man. But the meat of the issue was Dr. Starline kind of like experimenting on Belle, whom he kidnapped an issue or two ago, and gets Belle to tell her origin story, which was when Eggman was had lost his memory. He went by Mr. Tinker and just kind of put his roots down in this little town and was like building toys and carnival rides for like the people here. And he wasn't an evil doctor. And he made Belle. And then Belle got really mad at Starline for finding Eggman and turning him back into an evil doctor. And then the Chaotix show up to save Belle because they're detectives and they figured out where he was keeping her. And Starline gets away, spoiler alert. And yeah, the final page is just the Deadly Six saying, we'll come back even more ruthless than before. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon, basically, because they've been around a lot lately. I think we're going to get back to some more Eggman and Starline stuff, maybe some Metal Sonic, but it was pretty cool. I like a good origin story, and it was done well enough here. And it's cool to see Eggman be someone he's not because he lost his memory. That was pretty cool. So I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. It's one of the better Sonic comics I've read in a while.
I'm just gonna say though, as someone that's hearing about it, it sounds kind of lame how they did the six, the bad guy, the bad group six, as I'm gonna call them, because I forgot their the deadly
Deadly
six.
Six.
Yeah, the bad guy sixes. I was disappointed because it sounded like, oh yeah, they did a lot of build up for him, and then Sonic's like, you thought, and just takes him out really easy.
Well, They did. I mean, they did a whole arc on these guys,
Yeah,
and then there was a Starline miniseries. Um, so like they had their time. They just
I
came
know.
back as a filler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're building them up, building them up, building them up, and it's just like one issue. Sonic's like, ha, out of here. And then, you think that there'd be a little bit, like Sonic would at least struggle with them and, like for a couple issues instead of just being taken out real
Yeah,
quick.
well, you know, it's Sonic Comics. What can you do? I'm
Fair
sure the
enough.
kids are just all about it, but it is what it is. But why don't you go, man? Do one of
All right,
yours.
dude. So I'm going to talk about Fantastic Four Life Story, number 4, and it's the 90s. So this is by Mark Russell with art by Sean Izaakse with Francisco Mana also. And this is the first issue that I've actually been like, I think I liked the first issue. And the second two I did not care for, but this one was actually really good. It's all through Thing's perspective. And he's looking for love online. Like, because basically when you have like all these super geniuses and in this universe, they're all kind of working together. There's no wars. You have like Tony Stark figuring out how to make like renewable energy that's amazing, that's getting rid of all of like the greenhouse gases. And this is like my favorite thing in the comic, my favorite thing I've read all week. um he goes, the hydrogen engine will make power cheap, clean, and plentiful, strangling the threat of global warming in its infancy. Awkward analogy, but cool. And then T'Challa, like the people in Wakanda, like T'Challa and all of his scientists cured HIV and AIDS. So like all of these terrible things, and so like internet's way more around now. Like Franklin's getting married to a lady from Wakanda, and like I said, things doing internet dating, and he meets Alicia. And there's another funny part too. It's his date, and it's Alicia shows up, and the bartender who's his buddy is like, asks him like, "You look nice, Ben. Funeral?" It's like blind date, and then Alicia shows up. It's like, "Are you Ben?" "I'm Alicia." And then the bartender was like, "Boy, you weren't kidding." She's like, "Wow, never heard that one before. Sorry, he's a jerk, but a friend, but a jerk nonetheless." I was like, "That's pretty funny." And then they really liked each other. And then like it tells Ben's the sad story about how he got kicked out of the military, but like Reed made these satellites that were going to stop Galactus, and then Silver Surfer shows up and blows them all up. And then he basically tells them Galactus is going to come. He's going to kill you guys. Y'all are going to die in a couple, in a couple, months or whatever. So get your affairs in order. And then it ends that way. So I am interested in seeing where this goes. This was actually the first, like I said, really good issue since at least the first issue. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. This is so much better than the last issue too.
Glad you liked it, man. I know you're a big Thing fan.
Yeah, I love those big
Oh,
old thing.
so speaking of this will be really quick, so I don't want to cut into our time. But did you see the little like bit of art we got from Devil's Reign? Did you
I
see any of
didn't.
that online?
Wait, yeah, I think I did. The like where Chichetto posted it, right?
I think so. It was like a couple pages.
Yeah, I did
Um,
see that.
I mean, I'll be honest, even though I haven't really read this run, like I might just pick up this mini series because it looks awesome, like really
Yeah,
awesome.
and that's one thing that Marvel does way better than DC. It makes like all of their books are easy to pick up from the start because they have that little page that says this is everything that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
So even though this series would be best if you start at the start of Chip's run because it's all connected to that, you could still start from the last issue and just start reading it because it's got that opening thing where DC's like, good luck.
Right. Yeah, there's just that he posted a cover and like Iron Man's on it, so whatever. But then there's like Cap and Luke and Invisible Woman and the two Daredevils and the two Spider-Mans and Elektra's there and Jessica Jones, and then there's Kingpin in the background looking all evil. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get this. I like all those people.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so next I will talk about Harley Quinn, Eat, Bang, Kill Tour, #1. This is by T. Franklin and art by Max Sarin. Um, I'll say if you haven't watched the Harley Quinn animated series, don't read this book because nothing will make sense and you'll probably hate it. But if you have watched that, then this just reads a whole lot like an episode of that. It kind of just continues the story from where the last season ended. And yeah, just they're Harley and Ivy and Harley's two hyenas are taking like a honeymoon road trip, and Gordon has bugged the car or something and is gonna try to bring them in because they basically Harley destroyed all of Gotham with parademons. Spoiler alert. So yeah, it was pretty fun and the art's neat. But yeah, I liked it a lot more because I've actually watched the series. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. There was a lot of like unnecessary like dialogue at the beginning, but overall I liked it.
I wonder how important that series is going to be because they're making more seasons. So I wonder if, like, is the creators actually working on this book at all, or is it just like random people?
I'll be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like because DC with like Flash and Arrow used to do mini series in between the seasons that would fill in some info, which I never read, but recognize that that is potentially a pretty great idea. So, maybe this is like necessary info
Yeah.
for whenever the next one starts. But all right, and then I will talk about the last ride briefly. Um, a lot of it is cool fight scenes. This is some stuff that we saw at the end of last issue, but we get like Wonder Woman versus Mongol, and the Brainiac cyborg Superman that we saw at the end shows up with his army of manhunters, and so Flash and Superman are fighting them. And there's a really cool big reveal that I don't want to spoil, but I'm interested in Casey's take on it. And yeah, that's all I can really say. That this is a terrible review because I don't want to give anything away. But it was a 9 out of 10 for me. And dang, I want to talk to you about it, Casey. So you gotta let me know after you read it. But
All right, we'll do,
it
man.
it was cool.
I'm really excited. Like I'm kicking myself for somehow missing it. I think I just glazed past Justice League. I'm like, I don't care about Justice League. All right, so Godzilla Rivals, versus Mothra. This one's fine. I'm a little disappointed in that it's by Mary Kinney with SL Gallant on the pencils, and I'm a little disappointed because I was under the impression this series would be like an actual series and not just like one shots. Like this is a different creative team than the last one. It's no connection to the last one, so I didn't know that going in. So kind of threw me through a loop. Kind of had me disappointed, but it was neat. Like basically, there's a monster that lives in this lake, and it turns out like this female journalist finds out that it's Mothra under there, and the Japanese defense force is keeping her there, and Godzilla's attacking. So she sets him free, sets Mothra free, and Mothra fights Godzilla. And what does Mothra do every time she is in a movie or in a thing with Godzilla?
Breaks out of a cocoon and then becomes friends with Godzilla.
No, I was gonna say dies.
Oh.
It's not a Mothra appearance without her somehow dying, and that's what happens here too. But the one thing I will say about this that makes it so much better than like any Godzilla versus Mothra movie, like I'm not the biggest Mothra fan just because of the fact that like outside of the King of the Monsters, they cannot do a good Mothra fight scene to save their life, and it's not their fault. It's just like trying to use those puppets versus a guy in a suit just does not look good. Like the Heisei series, they try to do it by giving her like energy beams to make it like they're spamming that, but it's still like at the end of the day, you have her flying Godzilla here and just ramming into each other, and it just does not look good. But like with this, since they're able to draw it, it looks so much better. The story was good. It had like nice little callbacks to like Godzilla versus Mothra, where the female protagonist in that movie is also a journalist and all that stuff. So it's like it's all these like little kind of cool things. And then she's able to do like all this like cool stuff too, like diving and all this. And instead of just being like, oh, she just can, like they actually explain it. Like her parents made sure she could do all this stuff because they were the adventuring type and they wanted to make sure their daughter could. So like she was always annoyed that she had to learn how to like mountain climb and scuba dive and all this stuff. And it's actually coming in handy when she's trying to save Mothra. So like it's really neat. I liked it, but like I said, I wish it would have been like an actual connected story to the other one. This is just, like I said, a one shot. The next one's going to be a King Ghidorah one. Should be cool. So you can read that one since it's not connected to anything else.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for me it's gonna be 8 out of 10. Like I said, the only knocks to it is there's no continuity. It's just its own separate story, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm glad you liked it. All right. Then my final solo issue here is the final issue of the Mighty Valkyries, which is number 5. It's written by Jason Aaron and Torrin Groenbeck, and art by Mattia De Iulis. Gosh, I'm so sorry.
They just shut the podcast off.
Yeah, I know, right? Again, this is like arguably the best artwork in comics right now, especially, a high fantasy type book like this. But at the end of the last issue, Hela was challenged for the throne of hell by the dragon skeleton of Fafnir. And Loki goes and knocks out Craven to grab his grandchild, whose name is Mor. And brings them to hell. I'm sorry. And Mor turns into giant wolf form, and spoiler alert, just goes like berserk supernova and destroys Fafnir, which just looks freaking awesome, and starts to go crazy, eats Loki, eats the Carnilla and the 3 little god babies from the story, but Jane shows up and has to talk them down, which works because they had like a little connection an issue or 2 ago. And Mor was basically just like, hey, thanks for believing in me and not everyone else who just said I'm evil for no reason because I'm the grandchild of Loki. So then Jane and Runa take the god babies back to their actual mother on Earth. They still have god powers, but it shows Loki and Jane just kind of like sitting on a skyscraper looking down at their apartment building. And Jane's like, I have no idea why I still feel so connected to these kids. And Loki's like, oh, it's because Carnilla made me give her some of your hair so that she could weave you to their fate. And he's like, oh, and also I gave her some of my hair too. So we're both connected to these kids. And Jane's like, why would you do that? And he's like, well, an impulse, I guess, but these little gods will need guidance when they grow older. And Jane's like, Godfather Loki. Now I've heard it all. See ya, and flies off. And Loki was like, well, I was thinking more Allfather. And that's kind of how it ends. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because Loki, for a while, has been trying to be a good guy, which is all fun and whatnot. So yeah, they leave. They let Hela, I guess, remain ruler of hell, and is basically just like, take care of your wife Carnilla and stop being a jerk, and also let Mor do whatever they want because they're not evil. And Jane and Loki are watching after these kids every now and then, and Yeah, everyone flies off into the sunset. It was pretty cool. That final fight with Moore and Fafnir was just like ridiculous. If you guys have thought this sounded cool for me talking about it for the last, 5 months, definitely check out the trade because I, again, could not suggest it more. It's good Asgard stuff, but it's also just in general good Norse mythology. And Jason Aaron and Torrin Groenbeck have weaved the two together in a way that most people really can't. Sometimes stuff like this just doesn't translate well at all, but this was really cool. So and plus Casey, I mean, that's like the art you get, which I think is incredible.
That is really great. Now, did they ever cross, like the two Valkyries ever cross paths?
They did here at the end.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I was like, I don't remember
Yeah.
them. Come on.
No, I know that their stories were separate there for a while, but I think it was actually towards the end of the last issue.
Okay.
They both went to hell because they were needed there. But yeah, it all really did wrap up really nicely. And the part that I liked a lot was at the end. It says, "What a beautiful goodbye! This issue closes a chapter for Jane and Runa." But the Valkyries will return and sooner than you expect. So keep a sharp eye, true believer. I was like, yes, they're going to
I
get like a
figured
second volume or something.
they would, yeah, because it's doing the Marvel way.
It is, but when it's good, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And it's like that's a new number one's gonna get more people to read versus number 6.
Yeah, that's true. I really hope that they get the same artist too, because my goodness,
Maybe
it's
that
so
might be why they're taking a break.
that could be. And they deserve a break after that. I mean, it
Yeah.
was never once was I like, oh, this isn't as good as last time. It was always 10 out of 10 stuff. So,
Yeah.
speaking of 10 out of 10, that's what I'm giving the issue and the series in general. I
Nice.
think every time I loved it with like minimal to zero complaints. So,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Okay, man. What order do you want to do these books in?
Let's go. I'm rearranging. So, no guessing order this time.
Okay.
Let's do Titans, Superman, Primordial Joker.
Sounds good to me. I had my Titans right before my Joker, and I decided to just put that in the front, and then we were matching.
Excellent. I'll let you talk about this one though, because I've been yapping away.
Okay, man. So Titans United won a 7, and I'll find the creative teams if I can't. All right, it's by Kevin Scott with Jose Luis on the pencils, and yeah, did you? What were just your initial thoughts on this?
I didn't really care for it.
I did not like it at all either. The art in it is nice, but yeah, the way the characters were written, I didn't know if you would like it because I didn't know if they were trying to make it more like the Titans TV show the way they were written, but they all just seemed off.
No, they definitely were. Like, here's what's so annoying. Unless your name is, Judd Winnick, you write Jason. He's so unlikable, right? And he
Yeah,
doesn't need to be that way. He's
I mean,
not just this like jerk all the time. Like he is a jerk, but dude, I couldn't stand him in this issue.
in all fairness, I couldn't stand most of them in this issue. So like basically we get this guy, he just starts shooting heat vision out of his eyes and the Titans show up and then he can turn into like a green animal and then he can do starfire powers and he gets a little bit of like Superboy powers too, like other Superboy powers too, I think. And then Jason's got guns again, which continuity wise he shouldn't have guns, but then also Superboy's dressed like not like he's dressed like Match in Suicide Squad and not like regular suit, like how he is now. So it's like I don't think any of this is in continuity, so it doesn't matter. And then the dude blows up, and then like the Superboy doesn't have his powers anymore, and Raven's kind of hurt and whatnot. I hated Beast Boy. He annoyed the crap out of me in this.
Hmm. Like
And
really, sorry, go ahead.
and it's that's another thing that's continuity wise it doesn't work is he is like hitting on Starfire the whole time. It's like at first you kind of get the feeling like, oh yeah, no, him and Raven are still together in this, but then it's like, oh no, they aren't. He's, just kind of flirting with everybody. So it's like, okay, yeah, this isn't in continuity. Like there's no way it is. That would explain it. Why nothing makes sense and why it's not really good. Like had this been written by Tim Sheridan, it probably would have been great.
Yeah, I agree. It should have been written by him. I was gonna say like the only part that I really liked is when Superboy grabs the guy and he's like, "Sorry, bud, but I need to get you clear," and just bear hugs him and flies straight up with him while he blows up. Like that part was cool, but that was like the only part that I could even remotely stand in this issue. Otherwise, it's just Superboy and Jason having a you know what swinging contest, and it didn't work. And I was
Yeah.
really excited for this, especially after the ridiculously awesome cover that we got for it.
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, unless it's like a light week, I doubt I give the second issue a try because the writing's not good.
Yeah, the writing's bad, and like I said, we're getting a lot of really cool Titan stuff, and I was hoping this was going to be another like in that universe because I've been really enjoying that, and this isn't, and they didn't even let us know that beforehand. This is just its own thing, and it's not a good thing. Like the art's
Yeah,
good, but that's about it. Where's your rating at for this?
probably like a 3 or a 4.
That I'm at a 3. That's about where like as soon as I finished reading it in the hotel, I'm like, yeah, this is a 3.
I'll say 4 then for that little Superboy moment and the
Okay.
cover. But like if this was Tim Sheridan writing all the professors like hanging out and going out on like a mini, adventure, this could have been a knockout of a series.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
All right. Next, we've got Superman and the Authority #3. And this is written by Grant Morrison and art done by Travel Foreman and Mikkel Hanin. Yeah, so Casey, I'll ask your thoughts on this one.
I wasn't super hot on it. I loved the art, obviously. The art's amazing. But yeah, the story itself, it was just kind of Though I do like the way Grant writes Midnighter. Like if Grant was writing the backup for Midnighter, I'd be reading that for sure because he's so fun in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time he talks about, it, he's like, "Okay, Superman." He's like, "That's still so weird that I'm saying this," and like all that type of stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun and whatnot. But yeah, like the story itself, like this was like a really big filler issue for a 4-issue mini series, which just kind of sucks.
Yeah. I think I'll be honest. I think it's pretty neat that, and this is some spoilers, by the way, that Ultra Humanite put his brain
Hmm.
inside Grundy. Like, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of neat. And then plans to get in Superman's body. But yeah, otherwise, I was just kind of like, this is a whole lot of an issue about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, they're still trying to get the team together and all that other stuff.
Dude,
Like,
and they say they have one more person to get,
yeah,
and it's the final issue next. So like
yeah.
we have to be getting another mini series of this.
Well, I've heard they're supposed to be showing up in Action Comics, but I'm like, how is that supposed to work? Because it's like this is clearly not in continuity. Because people are throwing a fit because like in the solicits it's saying like, oh, some of the authority are gonna die basically, and so people are throwing a fit about that, saying like, oh, how can they do this to these characters, blah blah. And it's like that can't be this authority that we've been getting in this comic because this is not continuity. Superman's not losing his
Well,
powers and all this other stuff.
I mean, it could be this authority that says we are
That's
the authority.
that's what I was thinking it was going to be after because like after I saw that I'm like that's probably who's going to be going to because it's like they go to War World and it says something about how like there's losses of the from the authority or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like I like how Grant writes all the team members. Um,
Yeah, Grant does a great job of writing the characters. Like, it doesn't seem like Grant ever gets a character in a book that he doesn't, or that they don't know how to write.
Yeah.
But
Because
it's
chances are Grant's read every single issue they've ever been in.
yeah, and there's also like even like somewhat of a chance where they've been tripping and talked to the characters like they've done with Superman.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yes, it's just 100%. The story itself was not good to me. Like it just was not interesting at all, and it's like just a big old pile of filler.
And also, is the Light Ray in this a new character?
I don't think so, but
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it sounds like we could easily Google it, but I'm not going to right now.
Yeah. I am, my interest is peaked at Eclipso.
Yeah,
I don't know. For me, it's probably a big old fat 6 out of 10.
I'm at a 5, so yeah. All right, so next is Primordial #1, and this is by Jeff Lemire and Andreas Sorrento. And yeah, what did you think on this one, man?
Honestly, I kind of loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't say I loved it, but I liked it enough, and then the ending has me really hyped. What'd you love about it?
This Dr. What is it, Pembroke, something like that?
Yeah, from MIT.
Yes. I
He'd always say that. That's why I was saying
right.
that.
He's just like likable. He's really
Mhm.
likable. And you can tell that he's a good person trying his best to do his job. And then the mysterious guy in his car who's like trying to help him out. I don't know. And then just the mystery behind everything. It's just I'm like, what happened? Why does it say they died and then they didn't? Like what's going on
Yeah,
here? So I'm kind of invested.
yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, on it for me when I was reading, I was like, not a lot's going on. But then like I said, but it was like it was interesting enough that I was kept reading it, and then like I got to that last page with the reveal that I don't really want to say, because so if someone wants to pick it up, they can. But yeah, that last page reveal, I'm like, yeah, I you hooked me for sure, big time.
And what you just said about this issue is how I felt about May's book last week. But like for me, this is a way better first issue than the Maze book one. I
Yeah,
was like
well, it's nowhere near
way
as
more
depressing.
interested. Well, that too, that too.
Yeah,
But
it's also like May's book is, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but May's book was more like one person's life, while this is like kind of a more interesting subject matter too. So that helps a lot.
yeah, plus Andrea Sorrentino's art is ridiculous. I mean, that splash page with those colors was just insane. So
Yeah.
I I really liked it.
And it's one of those things too where like this art, like their art was, in my opinion, at DC must have been being hindered by editorial, because this is like a step up from what they were doing before, and it was really good before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this one's probably a 9 for me.
It's just a 7 for me, but I am super invested. I really am excited to see where it goes from here.
Casey dishing out the low numbers this week.
I know. I think I was too nice last week, so I'm like, I gotta rein it in.
All right, and then finally we've got the Joker #7, and this was written by James Tynan, and art was done by yikes, I can't find it. By by Graham March, of course. All right, dude, what do you think of this one?
It was pretty dang silly with the new character that, I don't know if they're new or not, but the new character, new to me character that was introduced.
Which one?
Julia Pennyworth. With
Oh,
this big reveal.
yeah. I mean, she's been around, hasn't she?
I mean, I'm sure she has. This is the first time I can remember seeing her, but that was just super silly to me that they're bringing her into this. Secret Spy, Julia Pennyworth.
I mean, at least the story is international. It makes more sense than her just like showing up in Gotham and being a regular.
Yeah, and then also I didn't like how the Court of Owl dude appears, and like Stephanie Brown is the most useless person on the planet.
Mhm.
Like it's just like my goodness, like comes to stab, and then she's like, "Oh, a knife."
Yeah,
So I wasn't super hot on that.
that was my biggest beef with the whole issue. I'm like, dude, she would have just grabbed his arm and like snapped it in half. Like, why did she hesitate?
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing with the out like the Court of Owls, and it's kind of the same thing that happened with like the Manhunters and Jeff Johns's Green Lantern run. It's like they started off as a threat, but then by the end of it, they're just like cannon fodder. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of lame when they use them anymore because they just ruined them in the first series that they were in.
And also, I don't like that they gave Cassandra's cowl eyes. I think her cowl's way cooler without eyes.
Yeah, no, you're right. She looks like oh, was it who was that Nightwing villain? Was it wasn't Murmur? That was a Flash villain, wasn't it? There was that Nightwing villain from the Chuck Dixon run, and then the Devin Grayson run, where it was like looked like a bat character. Like it would just be like,
Oh, it's like Fatale or something, right?
yeah, I think so. That's what she looks like now.
Yeah. Like it was cool. Like Stephanie was useless and Barbara was useless just so Stephanie could make this like reappearance. And then, because I was like, dude, if it's one Talon versus those two Batgirls and it's giving them trouble, then I'm going to be really upset.
Well,
Um,
like giving Babs trouble right now because it's like, oh yeah, her back like is kind of giving her issues and all that type of stuff you can write off. But with Stephanie being just an idiot and be like, what? That didn't make any sense.
right. Yeah, I did kind of, I always enjoy the Jim stuff though. Like his little flirty back and forth with this Interpol lady was enjoyable because I like um anything that's thrown at Jim. He's like a seasoned vet at this point, and he's like, look, you don't think I did this, or he's like, I used to do this trick, like it's not working on
Yeah.
me. He's a smart detective, and I like that. And they're just throwing him into like a new situation, which is pretty neat. So I like that aspect. But yeah, the stuff with the Talon was frustrating if you're a fan of those characters involved in that scene. But and then I straight up didn't read the backup because I don't care.
I skimmed the backup, and it's like the one big takeaway is like Orca might be like, because we were complaining like, oh, how she was being bad even though she was good last time we saw her, and they kind of explain why she's kind of being bad, but she's still kind of being good now. And we also got a Lady Bane appearance at the end of Joker, which I'm excited about because she was interesting. So at least we get to see that again. I need
Mm-hmm.
to get on her arm workout because she's got some guns.
She
But
does.
yeah, and like the backup story, it's by Tynan and Sam Johns with art by Sweeney Boo. And it's not good. Like, I mean, unless you really like Punchline, but otherwise it's not very good. Harper's trying to figure stuff out, and then her brother is still the stupidest person on the planet. Like, he goes to his boyfriend's place and they don't have AC, so he's like, I'm just gonna take my shirt off. He takes his shirt off, he's got like a card tattoo on him. And then the Harper's brother's like, what's like, oh, you got a Joker tattoo? No, thank you. And he's like, don't worry. It's not Joker. It's the because I was in the Royal Flush Gang. And then he's like, ooh, tell me more. It's like, that's still bad, Harper's brother, you idiot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get how you're going like, oh, well, you're with these murderers? Yes, please.
Also, I'd like to point out that I messed up. It's not Fatal, it's Brutal.
Oh, okay. It's a towel.
Yeah, it's a towel. So yeah, what would you rate it?
I'm probably down to a 4 on it. I'm not super hot on this issue.
Casey hates everything this week, guys.
Not everything. I like the 2 that you didn't read.
I'm probably at a 6 though.
Yeah.
I still like the series. Still gonna keep reading it. There's
Yeah,
just
same
like
here.
there's good parts and there's not good parts.
This week was just more not good parts for me.
Yeah. All right. What are we excited for next week?
Okay, so for me, Aquaman, I'm after reading that 100, years of Aquaman thing, or however many, I got pretty excited for that. Flash, of course, we need to come up with a title for the next episode, so the Flash will help there. And then Shazam.
Okay. I thought for sure you'd say Last Ronin, so I'll go with Last Ronin.
Yeah.
And then Moon Knight and probably Norse mythology.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to finish up, Norm. Oh shoot, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name again. McDonald passed away, and I never really cared for his comedy for the longest time. I was like, I don't, whatever. And then like after he passed away, random stuff started getting posted, and I started watching. I'm like, holy crap, this dude was hilarious. I'm an idiot. And so, just give me 4 creators you didn't really appreciate till they left a book or died.
I'm really glad you said left a book, or because if it was just died, this would have been way harder. So most of this, except for Kirby, was after they left a book. But I will say Jack Kirby, just in general. I wasn't reading comics when he was alive, so. And then Grant Morrison on Superman. Clearly, I wasn't reading Superman, and then you made me read All Star. Made me realize that's the best one out there for Superman. J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen, like you had me read their Justice League, and then I read like most of their other stuff that had long wrapped up after, before I started reading it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all of it's good. I need everything they've ever written. And then Walt Simonson on Thor. He wrote Thor in the 80s, and it was amazing. And I read it after the fact. So what about you, dude?
So for me, Morrison's one that comes to mind because I was reading Batman when they were writing it, but I didn't really appreciate it for how good it was until like years later. Now I'm like, man, I need to get the like in a big collection so I can read it all again, because I know how good it was, all the different things that were being brought up. It was really cool. And I'm saying like this is like pre Batman Inc. Batman is the one I'm talking, the run I'm talking about. And then Dan Jurgens, like,
Good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where at the time, like, I didn't really read, like, I don't remember really, I'm like reading his stuff when it was coming out, but then like for a while, I'd always kind of make jokes about different stuff that he did. Then like I go back and read, I'm like, oh no, I'm just stupid. I was wrong. This is good and fun. Trying to think. Then like Snyder on Batman, like at his first arc of New 52, I was like, oh yeah, this is really good. And then I just slowly kind of got to the point where I'm like, it's not that good anymore. But then like looking back, I'm like, it actually was. I was just being kind of a curmudgeon, trying to be difficult, like,
especially after reading Tom King stuff.
Yeah, that kind of made me realize just how good he was. Trying to think of the last one. I got nothing for the last one, but yeah.
Solid answers there. All right. I think that's the end of the episode then, huh?
I think so, man.
All right, guys. Well, closing plugs, if you would, please go to facebook.com/2worldspodcast and give the page a like. You can also find us on Twitter at 2_worlds_PC and on Instagram at 2worldspod. You can also email us at 2worldspodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us on YouTube. Just search 2worldspodcast. And also,
leave us a comment on the old YouTubes, say something about how Jake's looking very dapper, with his nice hair.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man.
And then the last thing, guys, is I had the opportunity to be a guest on another podcast this week. The episode dropped today, which is Monday. But that podcast is The Testing Room. It is a video game podcast done by a group of friends that I am also friends with. They asked me to come on and talk about comics and video games and sort of how those two bleed over. And it was a lot of fun. And yeah, if you want to hear me talk about that stuff, go check it out. It's episode 11 of The Testing Room.
Do you just talk about Sonic comics and then your upcoming Star Fox comics that you're going to get in the mail?
I did bring up Sonic because, I mean, how can you not? How can you not bring up? I mean, those were huge in the 90s. So that was a big topic of discussion.
No Star Fox, though,
huh? No Star Fox. I was really trying not to just talk about whatever I wanted to because I was the guest.
I gotcha, man. They just had to cut your mic halfway through because he wouldn't stop.
He won't shut up about Star Fox.
And then they turn it back on. You're just you never stop. You just kept going the whole time. Okay, guys, we'd love to stay in chat, but Jake's blue paws are just getting everywhere. I gotta solve this crime. Bye, guys.
Bye.